Hi, this is Eric Martin with Board Game Geek. I'm here with Michael Keller, designer of City Hall from Visible Hand Games, which is coming out early 2013.
Right.
First quarter, second quarter?
It'll be first half of 2013.
First half. Okay. What's the nature? I got to say, first off, I looked at the game at Gen Con. I played it there. This version looks a lot nicer. It's nice to see, like, you know, it's not going to look like a prototype.
Thank you. Our artist Ariel Sion has done a tremendous job with it.
Okay. So what's the gist of the game? What are we trying to do in here?
So
what's the setup?
In City Hall, you're running for mayor of New York during the Great Depression.
Okay.
The city was economically devastated, but the voters will turn towards whoever can best build the city up, drawing in population, while also campaigning for their own approval level. This is because at the end of the game, your votes are going to equal your approval level, multiplied by how much population you've drawn into the city.
Okay.
Now, there are also special interest groups that always try to sway an election by endorsing candidates. So, for instance, you'll receive Wall Street's endorsement if you end the game with the most money.
Okay.
Right, so you'll get some votes from endorsements, but mostly it's your approval level times the population you've brought in.
Okay.
And this is a role selection game. So there are 7 offices within City Hall, each with a different function. And every round, each player gets to activate one of these 7 offices. Unlike most role selection games, however, just because you activate an office doesn't mean you get to use it.
Okay.
That's because in addition to money, players also have political capital or influence cards. And you're going to be using these influence cards to challenge players' control of the city's bureaucracy. So for example, if I wanted to buy some land, I might visit the surveyor's office.
Okay.
Now, if you wanted to buy land instead of me this round, you might bid some influence, so maybe 2 influence.
There we go.
And if that ends up being the high bid, my choice is, if I want to keep control of surveyor and actually buy land this round, I have to spend that much influence of my own to the bank in order to maintain control.
And if you don't, you're going to take mine.
If I don't, I get your influence, but you get my turn. You get to buy some land.
So
you would then get to buy land and put your pawn on the corresponding space.
there you go.
All right?
Okay.
And this would happen for any of the roles. And so we're using these roles to buy land and then build different types of buildings on it with the goal of creating attractive neighborhoods as measured in stars. And buildings will generate stars based on how the city grows because buildings are affected by their neighbors. So for example, blue has a nice park here, so as white, I might decide to build a house next to that park. Since people like living near parks, that house would get a star because it indicates it's more valuable.
Okay.
So now you might decide then to go and build an office next to my house because people like being near work, and so both buildings would get a star. We both benefit.
Right.
Then you might decide
That
to
sounds
be
like
a
a
jerk.
terrible idea. I don't want you to benefit.
Well, you decide to be a jerk then.
That's
Make
right.
up for it by building a factory next door. Now, your factory likes your office because it sells to it, but my house hates being near your factory. People don't want to live near smog, so I lose a star.
Okay.
So now you've made it so that you have more stars than me, and this is important because this is how population will grow.
Okay. And now we're getting these cards from the zoning board.
Right.
Okay. We're going to start with a few in our hand. So we're getting land from the surveyor. We're getting the properties themselves from the zoning board. Tax assessor. Obviously, we're getting money.
Right.
Lobbyist. We get the influence.
Get you influence and let you buy and sell influence because that's what a lobbyist is best at.
So this is the layout is just like a deputy mayor, clearly turn order based on this. Health commissioner.
So the health commissioner is what actually brings people into the city. It controls the population track.
Okay.
So when the health commissioner is activated, we're going to be ranked by the number of stars on our buildings.
Okay.
And right now, you're in the lead. So since you have the most stars, you would gain 4 population and move up 4 on the population track.
Okay.
I have the second most stars, so I would only move up by 2. And blue has the least stars, so it would only move up by 1.
Okay.
So by building buildings in a way to make yours more valuable, you've managed to capture most of the population growth.
Okay.
And again, since your final votes are your approval times population, you've benefited greatly from that.
Okay. Campaign manager.
So your campaign manager is your primary way to increase your approval. It lets you spend money to run ads and move up the track, depending on how much you're willing to spend.
Okay. And the stars on the board here reflect what?
So these are for depending on the number of players in the game. If we're in a 3-player game, a star would start here, and this will track the end of the game, because if either this star or a player reaches the end of the track, the election will occur.
Okay.
And the star moves up by 1 every time we build. So when the city reaches a certain development level, or a player is popular enough, the election
figure
will
that's
happen.
the timing of the election.
Yep.
And now the roles that are not chosen each turn, so it's a 3 to 5 player game?
2 to 4.
2 to 4, okay. And so only a certain number of roles are going to be chosen. The roles that are not chosen, what happens to them?
The roles that are not chosen each round will get an influence placed on them to incentivize them. And if in a future round you decide to take one of those roles, you get that influence right away. You don't have
whether
to
or not
you win the bid. That's
Okay.
yours.
Okay. Anything else about the game that we didn't mention so far?
Well, the game is on Kickstarter right now through the end of November.
Okay.
13 days of time of this recording. So we're hoping to.
We're hoping we process this quickly and get this up there.
So when you're watching this, please don't waste any time. Take a look at the game. We've got on our page, we've got a gameplay video that'll show you all this again. We've got links to reviews, and the reaction here, I must say, at BGG.CON has been just so positive. People are willing to try these games out, and to see their reaction and how much they enjoy it has been very rewarding.
It was pretty sharp on my one play. I mean, you crushed us completely. It was me and another guy, and clearly, it was like the designer is just like, I'm just going to roll over you completely. You've made incredibly stupid moves. He didn't say that, but it was in his face. You could say. It was in the score too. You were just like,
I know you're supposed to let people. I know you're supposed to let people win, but I'm not like that.
See, I like that because, as the designer, it shows like there really is something to this game. Like I know how this works, and I'm going to show you sort of a little bit of the magic of how it works, and then maybe you'll use that in the next game to do that. Well, thanks very much for the overview,
Thank
Michael.
you very
Good
much,
luck.
Eric.